that time, 10 o'clock, it's after 10 by now. It's the time when we bring you Your Views. Your Views is a program that is aired on WIN FM every Friday morning at 10 o'clock. It's a program where we bring information to you, information of great importance. We try to make sure that the information that we bring is plausible. It's informative, it's educational. Sometimes we would open the line if we want to have that discussion, and other times we would not open the line. Today we're going to have a discussion. But before we do so, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Sandra Quilliatterton, and usually I'm the host for Your Views. And for those of you who are not in sync, it's a beautiful Friday morning. I'm perspiring, of course. It's sort of humid on the outside, and then there's a sudden change of temperature because when you get into the studio, you have that air condition. So you have that perspiration that comes out when your body starts to adjust to the new temperature. And that's what happens normally. I think that's one of the reasons why some of us would catch colds and other things, that sudden change of body temperature that can create situations like this. Otherwise, sometimes it's viral or bacterial. These, again, can pose some issues. But that's what life is all about. Let's talk about Friday. Friday is the day when some of us say, oh my gosh, it's Friday. It's the time when we decide that we're going to unwind, relax, meditate on the week to come, or some of us who would say that we would have a hard week and let's go to the bar and have something to drink. But we have to be very much aware of the fact that although we are having things a little better here now, we have looked at the cases of COVID recognized in comparison to other Caribbean islands that we're doing quite well. I spoke to my sister yesterday in Holland, and she said they're getting ready to go back again to that lockdown situation because they're in zone red, the red zone, red, dark red. So because cases are rising, what happens normally is that you have a lull and people think that, okay, we're doing better, and everybody do not adhere to protocols, and we have a situation that repeats itself again. So I want to advise us here in St. Kitts and Nevis that we have to always adhere to protocol. That is, wear your mask. The mask is not protecting only from COVID-19, but you have that Sahara dust that is wreaking havoc. There are many people who are suffering from head colds because of the fact that the dust brings a lot of things. So the mask protects you from that. I can tell you what it feels like because I had a touch of that head cold situation. It's not a very good thing to feel. The mucus is very, very thick. You have a sore throat that you can't seem to understand what it is. It is not COVID. You have no joint pains. It's just a cold. And that is one of the issues that people have. That sometimes you have a cold and you can't tell the difference between a cold and COVID-19. But let us make sure it's all the same thing, creates the same problems. We have to make sure that we adhere to protocols. That is social distance. Make sure you wash your hands. And again, you have to make sure you wear your mask. It has done a great job for us. We are seeing cruise ships in the harbor, which is a good sign. Our economy needs that. Our population needs that. The working population needs that. People who have been severely affected by COVID-19. I mean, one ship means a lot. I know when I swim at morning into the ship, a particular person will talk about the flower boat is in. It is what it is, and we have to be grateful that we can find ourselves at this point. It was a long, hard, dreary road. We want to congratulate the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for being able to help some of us to alleviate some of the hardships that we were faced with. Stimulus packages that was placed out there, people who were given on-time severance relief. It has been difficult because when you look at the situation is that they have to find monies to pay out, and we are not seeing any monies coming in. Congratulations for people who can handle an economy on the serious crisis like this one, and the people have come out still. All of us would be affected, but we have not been grossly affected because of the fact that somebody somewhere would have had the knowledge and the notion of what to do, and we have to be grateful and thank God for that. Well, this morning, that's enough of that. We're going to talk about other things, and one of the things we're going to talk about is, we have recognized COVID-19 is an issue. This is a just now thing. Cancer has been a situation that we have been dealing with. We had a guest in 2 weeks ago who spoke about the situation where he has been diagnosed with lung cancer. And at the end of the day, natural remedies would have done a great job. We have had people who now realize that October was breast cancer month. We see how many people who were survivors. I'm so shocked. People have succumbed to the disease and have died. We have seen that, and we realize that cancer is one of those very, very well-fed diseases. But there are other non-communicable diseases. We have diabetes and hypertension. This is something that's been wreaking havoc in our society. Almost everybody that you talk to, they would have had one of the other. High cholesterol is another thing that's wreaking havoc again in society. And it all comes down to the diet, lifestyle, and in order for you to make changes or see any in the near future, in order for us to see healing of the diseases, we have to seriously make some lifestyle changes. One of the problems that we have, I have suffered from that. It's and I'm so grateful now that I see that there's information out there, because then I know that because it is sometimes it's in the family, it's a family problem, and we see that running amongst our family where Pcos, that's polycystic ovarian syndrome, that's women, we suffer from that. Some people, you have some of the symptoms are, you have extended bleeding, you have missed periods, and we used to have that. You miss your period, the first thing people think, oh, you're pregnant. No, it's not. You had to convince your parents that that is not the problem, because they themselves not having an understanding of what it was. You get so many licks. I have had lashes because then, my periods didn't come when it was due, and people think that, although you tried to convince them, no, I've never had sex, but I don't know what it is. I mean, they're convinced that was the problem. So a lot of us as young girls would have suffered that because we were not aware that there was this thing called polycystic ovarian syndrome. As you grow older, you understand it, and you see the symptoms, and many people have that. Many people, this menorrhea, that serious period pain that you have when your menses are there. You have situation where you have your hair dropping out, and you can't seem to understand why your hair is falling out, not realizing that it's a situation. You have these dark spots around your neck, thinking that people say, oh, you're diabetic. No, I'm not diabetic, because of the fact that you have polycystic ovarian syndrome. What is polycystic ovarian syndrome? I have a man here. He's a natural man. He's no stranger to WINNFM. He's a person that I go to when I have situations and I need explanation and I need ways in which we can treat the situation. And he's none other than Ajalon himself. Ajal, welcome to WINNFM and welcome to Your Views.
Welcome. Good morning, Sanja, and good morning to the general public, those far and abroad, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You've been on the radio station and people have been constantly calling me. And because of that, I've decided that, there are some things that we definitely have to talk about. People are so caught up now in the politics. People are caught up in all the other situations in this world. And stress is one of the biggest problems. And so therefore, I've decided that, you need to change the tone sometimes. We have to get people to become more aware. There's some people who have seen certain things, but they're not aware of what it is. And they're afraid to become aware because they think that it is the final death sentence. Polycystic ovarian syndrome is a problem that a lot of young women faces. A lot of them don't even know what it is, and a lot of parents don't even know that there is, because when you ask the medical fraternity, and we don't want to talk about them in that kind of way, conventional medicine has its place, but at the end of the day, they don't know everything. Because I remember when I had my situation, my situation was never diagnosed. As a matter of fact, I found that out when I was basically in menopause, yeah. I knew because I was having some symptoms. When I was growing up, I had a situation where I had to practically starve myself. I exercised. I was an exercise fanatic. Well, maybe that was one of the good things. And so people think that my good body that I possessed and walk around, not strutting, was because of the fact that, you were doing a lot of, yeah. But it was true that I exercised. I played netball, I played basketball, I run every afternoon, and it was something that I loved to do. It wasn't something that I was doing it because I wanted to lose weight, because if I was doing that, then I would have realized that it's an issue. But I recognize myself that it doesn't matter. Although I'm doing all of this, I could not have had my body weight to what I really wanted it to be. It just would not happen. Sure. But I never took it. I took it as genetics, because my mother, I come from a family that is big boned. My father's family, they tend to have that. And again, we never look at it as it could be one of those contributing factors, hormonal imbalances.
Yes, hormonal imbalances.
Yeah, I went to an endocrinologist in Puerto Rico, and then he started talking about hormonal imbalances. Then is when I realized that, so there's something going on then.
Well, as you talk about hormonal imbalances, is a part of the endocrine system, part of the endocrine system, and that is a very important system that controls your hormones, Let me give you some examples of the organs and stuff related to the endocrine system. We have the hypothalamus gland, You have the pituitary gland in the brain, the pineal gland, the heart, you know, you have the adrenal glands, you got the kidneys, you got the stomach, the intestines, the pancreas, and the testicles for men and the ovaries for the females. You understand? So all these is what make up the endocrine system. So if you have a problem with the ovaries, it's going to affect the way your mind function, and because
The
these
thyroid
things,
too, right? It's
yeah,
part of
the thyroid gland and the parathyroid gland.
Parathyroid,
yeah, forget all those things. So thanks for the correction. Yeah, you know, so all these things play a part of the whole aspect. You understand? Because dealing with these things is like a multi-pronged approach. When one area is affected, it's going to affect other area along that line. So you just can't look at one area. You have to deal with a holistic point of view in these things, you know. And two, as I say, many people come to me and they ask me, well, as you know, I mean, where you got for cyst on the ovaries, you know, and when I ask them, do you understand what it is? You know what I mean? Some say, doctor, I want to take up my wound and whatever. And I show them, well, there's natural ways you could, you know, solve the problem, you know, by doing topical treatment and, you know, utilizing herb to cleanse the blood. You know what I mean? And, you know, the endocrine system, you got two systems, the endocrine and the exocrine. And the exocrine system is basically like the sweat glands and your saliva, you know. They come through a duct, through, you know, so we got to pause them.
That's the excretory system.
That's the excretory system, good. And the endocrine system, now, everything absorbs through the blood, basically, you understand? But anyway, to the PCOS now, let me talk about, like, the PCOS now.
Yeah, let's tell people what you said. Somebody would talk to you about the cyst on the ovaries. That's I remember one time, my daughter-in-law, she had that. It's a pain that she had and couldn't understand what it was.
Well, let me explain first. I mean, the whole structure or the female reproductive system, basically. And I mean the whole structure of the female reproductive system. You know, many people say the vagina, and they think the vagina is on the outside. You know, you got the clitoris. Outside is basically the vulva, and that's the entry into the vagina. You know, that's the canal on the inside. Then you have the cervix. You know, that is a muscular structure which separate the vagina from the uterus. You understand? The womb. Then you don't know you got the uterus. You know, and then you got the endometrial lining, I mean the fallopian tube and the ovaries, you know. So all these things is a part of the female reproductive system. The ovaries now is what really holds the egg, you understand? And in that process, in the normal process, like when menstruation happen, is the body now, the whole act of menstruation is the body preparing itself for ovulation, you understand? That is where the female release a sex gamete, the egg, you know, at a particular time of the cycle, you know. I mean, you know, the menstrual cycle is basically a 28-day cycle, you know, so from the first day.
Some people have a 21-day cycle, some have a 28-day cycle. Again, it depends on your hormone.
Depends on the hormone, you know what I mean? So from the first day of seeing the blood, you understand? We're going to start from there, basically. From the 7, 8, 9 to the 14th day, what happened now, the body now, the endometrial wall start to get thicker, you understand, for preparation for, say, if a baby going to come, the egg get fertilized, where the ovaries release the egg on the 14th day, you know, and if pregnancy going to happen, sperms come up through the ampulla and fertilize the egg and them type of stuff there, you know what I mean? And then they go down within the
fallopian tube,
go down, drop into the endometrial wall, which is already become spongy to receive that egg, you know? If that didn't happen, you understand? Then you know after that, the last 7 days of the cycle, the body now start to disintegrate, you know what I mean, from the muscles start to contract, you know what I mean? And then that lining that was prepared
becomes thinner.
You understand, is what comes out as the menses. You understand? Now, in terms of, I mean, if you get pregnant within the cycle, basically, say they get fertilized and they go down and so, you know, I mean, what start to happen now? In the ovaries where the egg came from, right? It start to produce, secrete hormones, which is progesterones, you know what I mean, to stop the menstrual cycle, basically, because you don't know, is a baby going to come through, so you're going to start to secrete hormones for create the embryonic sac and all that type of stuff, and the placenta, and after the baby don't come through now, that ovary sac, they call it the corpus luteum, that disintegrate back within the body, get reabsorbed, you know? Now, in the case of PCOS now, you know, what happened, PCOS meaning polycystic ovarian syndrome, poly meaning more than one, ovarian, cystic. Ovaries, you know what I mean, cystic, basically meaning fluid sacs, you know? Ovaries, ovarian ovaries, syndrome meaning more than one symptoms, basically, you know. Sometimes you might get bleeding, sometimes you might not have no bleeding, and you understand? You might go on a period for 2 years and them type of stuff, you know. So what happened in the act of polycystic now, the ovaries is filled, you know, and what started to happen, it started to release a lot of the eggs within the ovaries, basically, and that get reabsorbed into the bloodstream, you understand? So that now create toxins, and the body now, because of that action, the body thinking, because all that we get reabsorbed into the bloodstream, the body thinking that it is pregnant, you know, so it start to produce progesterone, you know what I mean? So it stop the cycles and them type of situation there.
Because
and then the woman will get the symptoms
of pregnancy.
Yeah. You understand?
Because there's not enough hormone to cause the breakdown.
Right.
And that is one of the issues. And that's why you talk about hormonal imbalance.
Definitely.
Because in fact, you don't have enough hormones for the egg to disintegrate, the process to go through, the body to do what it's supposed to do. So there's like a blockage. Your body doesn't understand, listen, I'm not pregnant, but you did not produce enough for me to get rid of it. And so the body goes into that stage because that's how it was designed to do.
Yes, because from this start to enter the bloodstream, remember the sac produces hormones.
Yeah.
So normally when you get pregnant, you're going to produce progesterone.
Yeah, basically. And if it doesn't happen, then it has to create androgen, which is another type of male
hormones. Basically,
that's why you have to beards and hair, chest hair, and things like that. So yeah, that's the procedure.
So in that aspect now, when that get reabsorbed into the bloodstream, that is how PCOS really happens. So to get that now, to remove that now, you have to really remove those cysts which is in the ovaries, you understand? And then that now, by getting them shrink down and everything, then you could get back your regular period and your cycles and them type of stuff and get pregnant. But what is very important also to, you know, kind of negative fibroids and other things where yeast infection and them type of stuff, you know. I mean, inside the womb and inside the vagina, basically got 2 different pH, you know what I mean? And, you know, because when the sperm get released into the vagina cavity, basically, is highly acidic, you understand? That's why a man release, over 10 million sperms, you understand? And in that, no, maybe only 100,000 might survive.
And only one that makes the entrance.
Right, you understand, because of the highly acidic
environment that is there.
Environment where they need, so they got to go fight that and go through, you know, and the cervix, you know, is got a little entry to go up to, you know what I mean, the woman and the female, you know.
It's amazing that you make that statement because people are now aware of it. It's the environment that is there that is conducive for pregnancy. So it's a lot of things, it's a lot of things that creates issues. If you're eating very acidic foods, if you're not eating the proper food, it affects your fertility.
Definitely.
It affects your reproductive process. Because, if that environment is not suited for the sperms to travel, then they're all going to die. And then, of course, the man is going to get a blame. time, or you can't, your sperms are not strong enough, you have a low sperm cell count, because of the fact that that female environment was not conducive for that. So it's a lot of things that we don't know, the ordinary person doesn't understand. And so for you to say that, it's a good thing, because then you can understand why it can be treated, because you have an understanding of what is happening.
And a lot of sugary food create yeast infection and those type of stuff, you know what I mean? And that is what the yeast like to feed on.
Yeah, because sugar is acidic.
You understand?
Yeah.
So I mean, knowing these things is very important, but we have herbs here that is very, very good for those type of treatment, basically, I mean, simple herbs like the maiden apple is very good. We got a St. John's wort herb. We got herbs like
Mother's wort,
raspberry,
my
and
favorite.
those type of stuff.
Dog blood is another favorite
Yeah,
of mine.
dog blood is a very important herb also in the treatment of this stuff, those type of conditions and them type of stuff, But also, even though the herbs, we have to know when to really do the type of treatment that is very necessary, because you don't know, it's different part of the cycle, different actions happening within the body. You know what I mean? I mean, basically the wound is actually 2 inches below the navel, and the ovaries is just above the pelvic wall,
So, and I know the reason why you're saying that, because there's some topical things that you have to do, and so you have to know exactly where to put what, and so having an understanding of where the womb is positioned and where the ovaries are positioned, then you can apply topical treatment that would assist that to get rid of the cysts that would assist with the problem of polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Well, that's the most important thing, because to deal with this type of situation, I mean, I deal with herbs make me get to learn a lot more of my body and how our body function, because it's not about just going picking the herbs. What is very important is to know the actions of the herb, what you really need it to do, because some herb is there to stop the bleeding.
And some is to encourage the
some there to encourage the bleeding, some there to help with the contractions and all, the muscle contraction and all those type of stuff there,
Yeah, it's good that you'd say that,
so it's very important to know what's going on, basically,
It's good to say that, because I like to play around with herbs. Not that I have a good understanding of it, but I know, I believe in herbal medicine. And so before I start taking a pill, I tend to find a bush. And you have that knowledge, and all of us have that knowledge, because if we were following closely to our foreparents or grandparents, we knew that that's all they had. Every time there's a problem, they just boil some bush and they give you to drink. Now, because we have strayed so far away from it, we don't really have the good understanding of when it should be applied. You talk about, let's go back to where you talk about the polycystic ovarian syndrome and the process in which, things takes place in your body before ovulation. And ovulation happens because the body, according to us, the Bible, Christians who believe that we were brought here to procreate. And so the great creator, the designer of this body, the great physician, he designed it in a way where certain things happen. Studying it because of the fact that you're doing herbal medicine, you have a good understanding of it. And so we have to know when to apply what herb. We have to, because although you have dog blood that does one thing, and you have St. John's wort and blue vervain that do something else.
They do different
They
things.
do different things at different times. So you can't just tell people, go drink some maiden apple bush, because I would say, I'm drinking maiden apple bush, and it's strange that people would say that, I'm drinking this and I'm drinking that, but I'm not getting any results, because you are not doing it at the right time. Because there's some people who have, although they have polycystic ovarian syndrome, they might have slow menses or little flow, and there's some that have a greater flow. So all the disease have different variations of symptoms, and so you have to know when to apply which herb because of the different symptoms. And that is one of the reasons why when somebody tell me, go and take the birth control pills because you have that problem, you don't even know what the problem. All are not the same. They're not the same problem, because I might have a heavy bleeding, I might have extended bleeding, I might have a short bleeding. It depends, and so you have to have a good understanding of when to apply what. Cysts, some people might have cysts, others might not have cysts.
Well, in the treatment of those, the cysts and those type of, like the ovaries, topical treatment is very, very important.
Why?
You understand? Because you have to shrink the cysts, and there are different apart. They're not, the ovary is different to the womb, the outer the womb. You understand? And, you know, in the process of, you know, like when the eggs, like the fallopian tube, really, when the egg is in the ovary, the fallopian tube is like a finger-like structure, a tube with some finger-like structure. They reach over and they cut the ovaries and they take out the egg and put it down within the wall of the fallopian tube, you know what I'm saying? Basically, you know, so the ovaries now, in the treatment of polycystic ovarian syndrome, you know, through inside of the ovaries is filled with a lot of eggs, and you understand, you have to really do a topical treatment, basically.
To release.
Yeah, using herbs what are going to shrink. I mean, things like castor oil, you know, because castor oil is a very powerful piece of medicinal oil there, you know what I mean? But you need other herbs also to use within that process, you understand? To assist in the treatment. Cannabis seeds is very, very good, you understand? It's another thing, very, very good. Cannabis oil is very, very good in the treatment of these type of situations, yeah.
Because it encourages that motion that would help to release, get rid of shrink
tumors and all those type of stuff, you understand? So, you know, in the treatment of them type of situation, these are the type of application man do to help people with that type of condition.
So you have two approach. You have the internal where you can take the teas and other oils and everything else, and then you have the external, the topical treatment where you can put those the same salve or poultice on top of the area that would encourage the breakdown of the cysts and the passage of them.
Yeah, and you know, even in terms of, you know, you could do inserts too, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where because I don't know the pH balance within the vagina cavity, you know what I mean? When that go off balance, you know what I mean? You got different scent and different things that come out and them type of stuff to remove a lot of these type of waste in like fibroids and, you know, because toxins that builds up, you know, understand? Within the body and get reabsorbed. You know what I'm saying?
See, you know, I like the fact that you would have made that statement. As a woman, we have to deal with a lot of things. Some women carries a very strong vaginal scent.
Yeah.
It's no fault of theirs. It's not that people say, oh, you're not bathing properly. That's not the reason, because you can bathe as much as you want. But because your pH value is so high, because you're not eating properly, you have that, it creates that stench. Toxins building up. It matters not how much you wash with soap and water, it's not going to help. It is you have to it's from a different approach that you have to use, where you have to look at the foods that you eat, and then you have to flush and get rid of all of that toxin buildup and change the pH of your body.
A lot of things to creating those type of problems, right, is the same things that you think is protecting you.
It's harming you.
It's harming you. Like the tampons, they're full of chemicals. You know, and this has been overlooked by many people. They think rushing to the store and picking up the sweet-scented things, getting... Be a newspaper is the best thing to use, better than all those tampons. Simple newspaper is much better to use.
In my time growing up, well, I was coming from the era... I was coming from the era where we used to use the cloth, and then you used to have to wash the cloth. But it becomes easier now. I wasn't in the cloth era. I was coming out of, because I've seen people who would have done it. But it comes to the point where everything is so quick now. You don't want to have to wash it. It's not a nice thing. And so you have moved to the point where you're using a lot, and a lot of times, because I'm very sensitive, so I can't use every brand of sanitary napkins, because it can pose some problem. A lot of people, even though they're not aware, tampons gives you some toxic shocks, because your body's not allowed to get rid of, and it creates that toxic environment, and then it can go on to have a myriad of health issues. But we're using it for comfort, and it's easy for some people to use a tampon, because people don't like the pad because of the discomfort that it presents. Again, the pads, they have the scented ones, and they come with chemicals in there that poses issues, where young people are now getting vaginal yeast infections, and they don't even know where it's it's coming from. You understand? Because of the fact, that's like you said,
A lot of sugary foods and all that
the
stuff,
foods
stuff
that
they
they're
create
eating,
imbalances.
the pads that they're using, the way they hygienic approach themselves. So once ago, we used to think that women who have stenches is because of the fact they're not bathing properly. But there are other reasons why they're stenches. And you said that. And there are ways of me to help. Because when you start to smell certain things, when you start to see certain things, these are symptoms of something else that is happening.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why we have to, when you see things like this, you have to start to inquire. But a lot of things are taboo, huh? A lot of discussions you can't have. And a lot of young people are afraid to approach people because people always come as soon as they see, oh, I don't smell, because you've been having sex and you're not bathing your skin properly. And that is what, because you said earlier that the male sperm is highly acidic.
No, I said it's female.
The female vagina.
Inside the female vagina
is highly,
the pH inside
is highly acidic.
Acidic. So
yeah, right.
when the sperm
And
have
so-
to travel through that.
So they have a die-off effect. That's where I was coming
Right.
on. So all of that die-off effect, that means it stays there and it needs to get
Right.
out. And so
You understand?
therefore you have to have, you can use, your lifestyle would change the pH value of your vaginal canal. Again, you have to hygiene, get rid of, because people don't like to bathe after sexual intercourse, and they will stay there, and all of this thing, because it's dead sperm, it's going to stay there and it's going to accumulate and it's going to create a toxic environment and it's going to have a stench. So there are different reasons why you have stenches. And again, this can contribute to some of the problems that we're having. You understand?
Yep.
The high acidic environment can stop your body from producing the number of hormones that it's supposed to produce, because it's so much things that has to happen
It
there.
affect the mind also, because
affects the
you know what I
mind.
mean, the hypothalamus and the
Pituitary gland.
they work in conjunction
Exactly.
with other, and they secrete hormones for the thyroid gland.
Yes,
You
and when
understand?
your thyroid gland is not working properly, your moods are off and everything else. And people don't understand how much
It's like a multi-prong approach.
Yeah.
Basically, you just in one area. You understand?
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I have a problem with, because we don't have discussions like this. You don't have, and that is one of the reasons why I try to bring you as often, because I've always wanted a medium where we can discuss these things, because there are a lot of issues. I remember when we used to go walking sometimes in the morning and we started to talk about women problems, because you think it's a problem that you have, that only you alone having it. But when you start talking to others, you realize, wow, a lot of people don't understand what menopause is and the hormonal issues you have. You don't understand what insulin resistance is, because that's, again, with PCOS, it creates that insulin resistance, hormonal imbalance, all of those things. Then it can lead up to hypertension.
And remember, I told you the stomach, right?
It's another issue.
Because you have to remember, as I told you, it's a multi-pronged approach, because even the food that we can, eat, you know what I'm saying? Our metabolism, how the food break down and them thing, and how we absorb food within our body, all these things play a very important role, because the food that we eat is what create hormones, Hormones is basically nutrients and salts and those type of stuff, chemicals, and the action by food digestion is, as I told you now, we got the endocrine and the exocrine system, the pancreas, you know what I mean? That secrete like insulin, glycogen, glucose.
And that people who have diabetes isn't even aware, is because if the pancreas is not secreting the enzymes that it's supposed to secrete. That is one of the reasons why the foods are not broken down the way it's supposed to be broken down. Your metabolic rates have been affected. Metabolism is affected, the way in which food has been absorbed into the body. That has been affected. And then that is one of the reasons why you have insulin resistance, because you're not producing the insulin that it needs to break down the sugars that we're eating. And we continue to give it on. And later on, we suffer from diabetes and kidney failure and all the other things that contributes to that.
True.
So we understand now that most of our diseases that we have, it's lifestyle. It's the foods that we eat that poses the problem.
What we're going to share there now, right? With the action, because these enzymes there, right, is important for the breaking down, the catabolic, the breaking down of the food, and the anabolic is the building up of the food. You know, like parathyroid and the hypothyroidism basically is when the last part, when the food is building up faster than how it is broken down. You know what I mean? So all these things are where you get thyroid issue
because you have
the imbalances of what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, with thyroid issue comes because a lot of time there's some of the nutrients that you need, for example, zinc, selenium, iodine.
Right.
Your body's not absorbing them as it should. You have B12 when your body doesn't produce that intrinsic factor, so that would help to break down the B12, and your body become deficient in that. And your thyroid, these are nutrients that the thyroid need in order to function. And so if your body's not absorbing it, if you're not eating the proper foods, then you're going to trigger off these kind of issues, hypothyroidism. And although it affects the thyroid have a situation where it is slow or it is working too fast. And so sometimes, for example, your body might be absorbing too much iodine, and it creates a problem with the hypothyroid. So you start to metabolize faster, so you're breaking down food faster, and so you're the slimmer type. And if you have hypo, is that you're not breaking down the food enough, and you have to build up, and so you become the bigger type. I have hypothyroidism. That happens because earlier you go to the doctors, and they're running all these different tests, but they don't have a good understanding of what it is, and you can't blame doctors because doctors study their various symptoms and they treat symptoms, but a lot of diseases have the similar symptoms. So you cannot differentiate if it's hypothyroidism or if it is PCOS or if it is hypo because then you're slimmer. And sometimes you have anxiety and it could be either or. So it's a lot of different.
So that's why it's like a multi-pronged.
Yeah, it's a multi-pronged approach where you have to start looking at what the source of the problem is. And doctors, there's a lot of, they always send you for all these different tests. And then the unfortunate thing is that sometimes they send for the test, the results come out, because in my case, results came back and everything was fine.
You know, what happened? All these organs going to have to be strengthened up.
This is it. Tonifying the organs is one of the things.
Right.
And that is where you come from a herbal standpoint, where if you can fix that, then you won't have all of these problems.
So because truly dealing from a holistic point of view, it's not just because it's the ovaries and the womb. You're dealing with the ovaries and the womb. You still have to strengthen up all the different, because you see, the simple fact, the kidneys is like the powerhouse of our body.
It excretes everything.
Yeah, it's excrete the waste and it store water because it takes the water from the food that we digest and from the small intestine, and it create, it's like a thermostat of your body. It create, regulate the temperature. If you got high fever and them type of stuff, the kidneys is a.
That's why drinking water is of paramount importance, because that's why dehydration wreaks havoc on our bodies, and people are not even aware of that. Just simply not drinking enough water creates a lot of problem, because you talk about the importance of the kidneys. The kidneys is just like your car. If you don't have gasoline in there, you can't run it. If you don't have oil in there, you pose problems to the engine. And if you don't have water in there, it's going to overheat. And that's where the kidneys are.
Yep, because that kidney now use his water to
Cool
lubricate
down.
all the organs. Them. So even within because remember your kidney go to your bladder, and your bladder urethra, and you know what I mean?
Get rid of.
So all that's still connected, because the pH balance within, the electrolytes them what needed is coming from the kidneys and that type of stuff.
And if it's not there, then it can't produce. And sometimes you hear, you always say, when I pee, I have that burning sensation. People say, oh, you have an yeast infection. It doesn't necessarily mean it's that. It means that your pH level is so high, you're so acidic, because you're not drinking enough water, because that's what it does. And so it creates that burning sensation. Or when you pee, it has that scent of ammonia. It shows that your kidneys are seriously under stress. But we're not in tune to that of our bodies. So we won't even know simple things, because our bodies always give symptoms that something is not happening. But because we're not in tune with our bodies, we don't realize until we reach to the stage where we start to feel pain, we start to feel sick. But we have had symptoms or warning that something is not happening, but we didn't pay attention to it.
That's true. Our body is intricately designed,
Yeah.
But simply in its actions,
Yeah.
I mean, we have a body. I mean, a virgin showed me, was telling me that, boy, you ain't afraid this and that and that. I said, you ain't got no papers and whatever. I said, brother, I don't need no paper to know about my body. I have a body. it is my responsibility to know about
To know
my
your body.
body. So because I know about my body, then I could assist you because I understand how my body operates.
But then it's not only that, just like
You know what I mean?
trial and error. And let's talk about this, because we have to talk about this. We give our lives we put our lives in the hands of people who are practicing, because they're practitioners.
Yeah.
These are people who went and studied. All bodies are not the same. We are all uniquely designed.
Yes.
Okay, but we look at diseases and we understand that there's certain approaches that you take. But when you take things that are not natural, you can't fix a natural body. Our bodies can only be healed by natural using of natural nutrients.
Nutrients, you know.
The synthetic drugs that we use is not going to, and I can talk like this because doctors read books, the same books doctors read, books that you are able to read now. Doctors went to school to learn, and you learn the same way. So I don't understand. They're not special. They were not born with this. They had to go out there and study this. So they're not put in a bracket where they're superior to anybody.
That's why many people get they get that type of concept, basically, you know. So when they pose that to me, I just tell them, brother, you have a body. Nobody's supposed, you know your body better than you. You know how you feel. So it is important because that is the whole problem. When we don't know what is happening inside of us, then we look for someone else to really, you know what I mean? But when you give yourself a chance to understand, then you could.
But Adjutant, I'm going to go back to this because I'm very, it upsets me. Doctors practice medicine.
Yep.
And they use drugs, right? And we know that when you look at the drugs, I'm not saying things that are not so I don't care who wants to talk about what I would have said on the show. Because when you look at the drugs, and in the boxes, they come with side effects. These are the effects that you're going to have, the adverse effects that you're going to have when you take these drugs. You're taking a drug to fix your liver, because for high cholesterol, then what happens? You have liver failure, kidney failure, you can't drive heavy equipment, you become drowsy. There are side effects from taking these drugs. So we know that there are adverse effects when you take these things because they're not natural. Drugs do not creates an environment of healing. It creates an environment of comfort. It eases some of the discomforts that you have. But that is one of the reasons why hypertension, you're going to forever, for the rest of your life, you're going to be on high blood pressure tablets because the tablets cannot heal the problem. You're going to forever be a diabetic because the insulin that you're getting is not going to fix the problem. You have to fix the pancreas. You have to make sure that the kidneys are working. As a matter of fact, diabetes destroys your kidneys because and a lot of times you're using, that's why doctor give you this drug called metformin that is supposed to protect your kidneys because you're giving drugs that your body sometimes cannot even regulate the amount. They give you, let's try in this dosage and see if it works. Let's try this other dosage and see if it works. And people feel like doctors are magicians. They're not. They are practitioners. They practice medicine every day. Things change, and every day you have different type of drugs that come on the market because it's trial and error. Let's see if it works. But when you take natural drugs and herbs, if you abuse them, it can pose some issues.
Definitely.
So, but at the end of the day, the side effects that the others would have, this wouldn't have. It's either you can take it or you can't take it. And later on, as time goes by, the drugs are going to, that's the wrong timing. As time goes by, what is going to happen if you take the herbs to tonify the body, if you take the herbs to detoxify the body, if you take the herbs that is going to strengthen, or the adaptogens are going to go in there and see what is wrong and fix it, later on you're going to have healing. But if you stay on the synthetic drug, you're not going to heal. And that is one of the reasons why they can tell you you have 10 years to live, because they know the lifespan, how long these drugs would afford you to live. And people have to wake up. They have to start to look outside of the box. We are too lazy in the way we think. And people always have to have papers to show what?
Nothing.
It upsets me because
it's just the mind, the concept of the people. You know?
And you can't say certain things because when you say certain things, you're going to stop the progress of the big farm. People selling drugs. I mean, you have people who have been sentenced to life because they're peddling drugs. I mean, and narcotics. And then you have people out there who are selling it like normal that has the same, and it can kill you. But they have the rights to do so.
Sure. Well, we now facing another crisis, because we're going to be facing a food crisis soon, you know.
Well, it's another thing. But we were not getting food. The things that we're bringing here that we're eating is not food, it's poison.
I know that, but what I'm saying now, imagine how people consume, you know.
Well, you know what? It's a good thing we are going to be having that crisis, because let me tell you, it's a lot of things that we are not looking at. A lot of these problems that we are having, we used to think was only people in America would have had them because of the foods that they were eating. But guess what? We're eating the same foods that they're eating now, and we're realizing that we're having the same problem. So does it take a rocket scientist to say that from we start doing what they're doing and we're having the same sicknesses that they're having, it means that the foods that we're eating is a poison? Because you have to preserve these foods.
That's what I told someone the other day, and I mean, we give up what we had, you understand, and try to adapt. I mean, like, you know, just example, coconut oil, how it used to be scarlet, and now the importance of it. I mean, people now talking like marijuana, CBD, and THC, whatever, marijuana, right? Look how long Peter has been singing the song, it's good for cancer, good for glaucoma. You know how long that been going on?
Yeah, but people don't look, let's
So we had the knowledge long time, but because now
it makes other people can make some money from it.
Somebody else run with it
to make some money from it. Yeah.
We know.
Then we decide.
It.
Yeah, but look at this situation like this. Let's talk about,
Mm.
because people like to say, oh, you can't say certain things because it's not, you know, you're going to stop people from selling these things. But why would you benefit from other people's detriment? Let's look at this food. Foods are supposed to, just like life, when you take life, it's supposed to die. Okay? What they're doing is trying to preserve these things. So they're putting stuff in there that would stop it from breaking down as fast as it should. When you do that, you change the natural process of the food. And so this is what we're eating. We're eating all of these stuff that has been preserved. Yeah. We're eating preservatives, not the food, because there are no nutrients in there, because the nutrients can only live, they have a shelf life.
Yep.
And when that shelf life is past, for example, sardine in a tin, that's dead fish preserved. If you put fish down for over 3 days, you come back, it stinks. Because that's what's supposed to happen. But when you start preserving these things, it poses a problem. And then we're eating them. Those canned stuff that they put inside of the can, they had to preserve them. So they have a shelf life of 2 years. What food can last for 2 years? And these are the things that we're eating all this time. People are making money from them. And we feel sad when we look at how people are dying and the rate at which people are dying now. But we're not stopping to think that the reasons why we're having so many people dying, children are dying. Older people are living older because some of them have not changed their eating habits. The young people are dying because they live on fast foods. Every sickness that comes around, and that is one of the reasons why COVID-19 could have been a pandemic so quickly, because our system is not strong enough to fight. Our body was designed to do that.
Definitely.
And so because of the fact that we are not eating the proper foods, we are not nourishing our bodies cannot fight.
No resistance.
No resistance, absolutely none. And so our immune system
deficient.
We're not taking any vitamin C. The limes are falling off the trees like nothing because you can buy a soda. The guavas are falling down, they're rotting because what? And again, this is the part that really irks me. We buy all of these jams that are preserved when we can make our own. Because we have the guavas, but now you run on the shelf because it's easier to pick up and go. All of these juices, we have the gooseberry juice, we have the golden apple. All of these, they're falling. Five fingers, they're falling away the wayside. We're not drinking them because we find it's easier to go to the supermarket and pick up a bottled drink that has preservative, artificial ingredients in there and different colors that poses problems too.
Remember the people watching the TV every day, so they're being programmed. So when they see the juices, they gravitate to them, you know, and then we got them here today and trying to incorporate them even to make their own business with them. Mango guava, mango carrot, you know, mango guava.
Yeah, and you could make the juices from them, and you know, you could make the juices from them.
And these are two things that waste a lot, mango and guava.
Yeah, and it makes very good. And you know how nutritious mango is? Mango, guava, pineapple. Pineapple has an enzyme called bromelain. Bromelain helps with not just with digestion, but a lot of other things. People who have diabetes and stuff, people who can't sleep. It helps with a lot of things that it does. Papaya has a...
Mango seed too.
Yeah, mango seed, of course.
Very, very, very good.
PSC too. People don't know how good it is when it's dried and grated, and you can use the powder to do so many other things. It shapes, and you look at the fruit, And whatever it's shaped as, like, it affects the organ that shapes like that. For example, the cashew, it looks like two kidneys. It affects the kidneys. You look at look at the avocado seed. It shapes like the brain. They're different. So you know, the brain. It is good brain food.
Well, one thing I learned really, right? Two, because like I was telling you about the endocrine system and the exocrine system is a very important system within our body, and you know, within the endocrine system, right? The kidneys, and they got all these different organs and glands, different places of the body. And then, you know, we have the nodes, that really send a signal to really...
something is wrong.
Right, you know what I mean?
Your lymph nodes and your lymph glands.
Right. So these things here, they don't got blockage. And true, we don't really unblock them. You need to do soft things to really get them
cleanse,
black out, and you know what I mean, like the same oils that I use it. We're telling you about using that in a heated way, massaging way. Those things remove a lot of the fat,
debris and everything that is
loosen up and all those type of stuff. You ever create the blockage and them type of stuff.
The circulatory system poses issues. People have varicose veins. That is a big problem. You have people like
varicose veins come like it's like what happened. The next week we're going to talk about circulation. You know what happened when the blood go down. You know what I mean, come to the arteries.
And
you know?
It doesn't have force to push it back up. It stays there and accumulate there and poses.
Well, what happened when it coming back up? The muscle, the veins them travel through the muscle because the veins them ain't really have no muscle structure. The arteries is what really have the muscle structure.
It's bigger than the veins.
You know what I mean? Because you know the pressure coming from the heart, pumping out the blood
through the arteries,
and the blood travel at a rate at 120. You understand? And then the far it go down into the blood and the capillaries, and so it come down to 5 mA. You know, so returning now, the blood go in, feed the cells and then all the nutrients that were needed come back out through the lymphatic system as waste. Come back going through the heart. You know, the waste is like carbon dioxide, uric acid, urea, all these things are part of the waste. Some go to the excretory system like the kidneys and the liver, as I told you before, to break down like carotene and them type of stuff there, to get broken down. And I mean, when they get excessive of that and the liver and kidneys they may work in, that way you get like growth and all them type of stuff, because that uric acid can build up and between the joints them and all that
causes pain and all things. So you understand what gout is now.
Right. So anyway, you know what I mean? Anyway, what happened now? The veins them now, just ain't got the muscular structure, they don't really pump no blood. So the veins them lie between the muscles them. So let's say between the calf them, the veins them lie between that. So when you walk and your muscle contract, you squeeze the blood up. And the blood now, in there now, you got some valves. You know, it's like a one-way system going up to the heart.
It closes off, and when it comes down, it
right,
opens
so
up.
if the blood want to come back down now, the valves, then we just close off.
Yeah.
You understand? But so when that is not functioning good, the valves have got problem, then you have pulmonary embolism,
blood clots.
Right, we call varicose veins.
Yeah.
So all them kind of situation there, you know, the same thing I was telling you about, these is what enough people need, because a lot of blockage within the body, and what that does is remove a lot of waste system from the body, loosen up the body, and strengthen the endocrine system as a whole.
Yeah, and then you see, when all the systems, because all the systems work together in tandem, because what you have is that the endocrine system, after all of that work is done and you start to excrete, you have the excretory system where these things come through and some of the organs that are part of the endocrine system is also part of the excretory system and a part of the circulatory system. That's where our bodies were set up.
It's a simple thing, eh?
It's a very, very simple thing, but we make it very complex.
In terms of one go in to feed, and one return.
Yeah, because you have to get rid of get rid of the junk. And this is one of the reasons you talk about the we're going to talk about that next week. We talk about the circulatory system, where we have people who have poor circulation, pulmonary embolism. You have all of those kind of things, blood clots that poses issues. People have the sedimentary lifestyle, edema, where you have foot are constantly swollen because you're standing for very long period or sitting for long periods. And if we have a better understanding of our bodies, is, and we have a better understanding of what we should eat, then it would make less,
simple thing, because
it becomes habitual.
That's what I'm trying to bring forth to the people, man. I mean, ain't just want to know what the herb is. It's to first understand your body. When you understand your body, then you would understand how your body would receive the herbs and what to do in the situation and what not to do.
Okay, so we spoke because we're running out of time. We talk about PCOS, that is what we're looking at. I am not going to tell people what herbs to use because we are not doctors. We are, Agilon is an herbalist. He deals with herbs. And I am going to make this statement because there's Patrick Delves. He's from Grenada, and he's all over the place talking about herbs and herbal medicine. And I've been following him, and I see how some people subscribe. And people from here, Sinkets, do the same thing. We have this guy from Trinidad. He, again, people follows him. People try to find out, where can I get your products? He has another guy from St. Thomas, Ras Bobby, St. Thomas and Croy. People try to find out, where can I get the information? And I've sat down with you because I did an interview with Ras Bobby. I've sat with Ras Bobby. And everybody basically have, we would never, just like me, doesn't have a full understanding of my body. It's the same thing, herbalists, they don't have an understanding of everybody's body, but they have an understanding of what the herbs do. And having that understanding, I mean, people can call and find out what the situation is. So if I tell you to use dog blood, number one, you don't even know what the plant is. If dog blood is not going to cut a dog and taking its blood, it's a plant. some people might think that is one of the things. But if I tell you to use dog blood, if I tell you to use raspberry, if I tell you to use Mother's Worth or St. John's Worth, those are the things I can tell you, but I can't tell you the dosage. I can't tell you when to use it, the best time to use, because you see, herb is not something you just get up and use. You have to have its timing in which you do so. Sometimes you can't take certain herbs at night because it keeps you up. Sometimes you can't take certain herbs in the daytime because it make you sleepy. So you have to have an understanding of when to use what herb, because herbs perform in different environment and different times.
Different actions,
definitely.
They all perform in your body, you know what I mean? If you want it to be a laxative action, an expectorant action.
Definitely. You know what I mean? You have an understanding.
Is to understand and to know the strength of the herb.
Yeah, and you have an understanding of when to make it into a laxative or to tonify or to calm. So there are different reasons and how you're going to use the herb. So we are here to present the information. Agilon is the person that you can call. His number is 664-6634. His name is Agilon, Ajahlon, because people have been calling me and they've been asking. And like I said, he can tell you what you can do, but everybody's body is different, so you have to have that discussion. He can't just make recommendations because you say you have PCOS. Like I said, there's some people who have heavier flows and some people who have scanty periods. There's some people who have too many periods in a month and some people who have no periods at all. So you have to know how to approach it based on the symptoms that you have. And people have to have that understanding. Just like when you go to a doctor is going to tell you when to use and how much time and the dosage. It's the same thing with herb. You don't just get up and you start to do it. Especially, and then you have therapeutic dosage, you have maintenance dosage, and you have just one-off dosage if you just want to take it. So you have to know when you're going to be using that. So it's not just because it's herbs, you can just do it as you like. And I know people like to ask the question because they ask me the same question. Where did he study herbology? Ask most of the doctors where did they study, what grades they got, and how good they are. And that's one of the things that you ask, because people come with a certificate or a degree. You don't want to investigate on where they get it. Well, you go to them and they tell you what to do, and that's what.
My word is not the Bible, you hear what I've said. You check out for yourself.
You have testimonials, people who have been healed.
That's how I learned, I listened to a lot of people, and I said that, long time in the whole thing, just no thing, business, people feel it because you're coming out now.
And talking about it.
It's not just no, man.
You're coming out now because you would have had a lot of success stories, and you think that there are other people out who can benefit from it. And when we see how people are pushing those drugs, then definitely we have to start to see how we could get the natural thing in. We are out of time. Sorry, but the clock on the wall says 20 minutes past 10. That's why I was talking, Devon, so it's not my fault. I was being misled by the clock, so we are out of time. I just glimpsed up my watch. And Agilon, thank you for coming. And like I said, I want to make this a habit. We want to start to educate and inform more people that there are alternatives. Hope is not gone. There's no death sentence for any disease. Your mind plays a wonderful part in this whole thing, and we have what it takes here. So it doesn't matter what food shortage, what boats are not coming. We have everything here that we need to fix situations and to feed our people.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure having you, Angela, and I look forward to having you again. Hopefully not next week, because I think I have somebody who's slated for next week. But we're going to see. We definitely, I wait. Normally I prioritize. I look and see what is necessary and information that is absolutely necessary when we talk about. Definitely, you're just a telephone call away. Well, again, I will remind you that it is Friday. Friday is a beautiful day for some. For me, it's a day that I look forward to, because it's the beginning of the weekend. And the weekend I can spend time with my kids, and we can go for long drives and do other things and enjoy nature at its best. For some of you, it's about going to the parties, go to the strips, going to karaoke, and spending time at a bar. But whatever your preference is, remember that also there are other things that are lurking outside there. We have COVID-19. It is a reality. It is posing issues. It has not only crippled people's health, but it has crippled economies. It has not only caused death to humans, but it has destroyed families. So we have to look at the fact that it's a reality. But there are means and ways to stop COVID from being that nuisance that it is. We have to start looking at building our immune system. Guavas, lemons, vitamin C, that is one of the good ways to start. You have fruits that are in season, very good way to start. It helps to boost the immune system, gives you the amount of potassium that you need, the vitamin C that you need, the zinc that you need, the selenium that you need to help your immune system to fight situations, pathogens that comes into the body. Again, you have to adhere to protocols, that is 6 feet apart. You can talk that distance, you can have a good conversation. Then you have to wear the mask. It is not because you want to hide your face, but it's because of the fact that you want to stop the transmission of the virus. So let us adhere to protocols, and then I suppose more sooner than later we see that our borders are opening up. Cruise ships are in the harbor. I suppose people are getting a lot more relief. You have 1 day in quarantine when you come, providing you're vaccinated. And these are things that are happening. So if you adhere to protocols and we keep COVID at bay, then we can do a lot more other things. My name is Sandra Quilly Atherton. It was a pleasure being here, and I look forward to doing the same thing next week, Friday. Stay tuned to WINN FM 98.9. Voices with Devon is up next.
Think it's people can done. Florida, Canada. Big up every kitty shot. The flag over England, Europe.